to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste.
I'm a king of rock, there is none higher. Sucker MCs should call me sire. To fuck my kingdom, you must choose fire. I won't stop rocking till I retire.
Now we rock the party and come correct. All sets are on time and rhyme connect. Got the right to flow and to elect. Another rapper can't stand it, but give us respect. I wanna rock.
What is it?
So cyberspace cadets, that's right. It's Sunday, and you know what that means. In cyber famine, fanbots galore, whatever. It's Irate Prostate. It's Sunday, and that means it's time for ice cream because it's Ice Cream Sunday. Yes, ice cream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. And why do we love ice cream so much? Because ice cream is a treat, and to me, a treat is talking to somebody that I'm interested in, somebody I want to know more about. And somebody I just sometimes my gut just says, yeah, you want to talk to this person, and the very true in this case. I called her on Lords of the Night, and then after that, I looked up her stuff, and then she occasionally does something with this other YouTuber, and so I said, hey man, I got and I asked Gamer Valene, please be on my show, and she said, hey man, anytime for you, I'll do it. What's up?
Hello.
That's not exactly how it happened at all, but she's awesome for doing a show. We don't know each other, so and that's I love to just break the ice and get into new people. Is there anything wrong with that?
No, not really.
So let's say it to some fam in the chat here. Of course, Sir Adamantine, greetings. Moonbase Radio, hello. Mr. Goat Man, we have been blessed by the goat. That is a good thing. I said Moonbase Radio, didn't I? Johnny Bonsacco, hey bro. JP, greetings. Who's cute? My wife. All right, well, the family's here, and it's going to get bigger. I hope. I think it will. It usually does. So
it's my best friend, Johnny Bonsacco.
Yes, Johnny B, man. I need to hit him up and say, hey, I hadn't shot the shit with him in a while either. It's good to see people rolling around and stuff. So what I do here, what this thing is I've got a set of questions, and all right. So chat, you know the deal. If you've got questions, go ahead and start just jotting them down. And when we get near the end of the questions, I'll ask you guys for questions. Okay. So we always open it up to the chat, and we start at YouTube, and then we kind of get into kind of how you came to be who you are now, right? And then by the time we finish the whole cycle, we'll be back at back at YouTube. And on that note, contestants, are you ready?
I'm ready. I don't know if the children will get along very long. The cat's in here and the dog is trying to clean the cat.
Okay. Well, that's
so if they get feisty, I'm sorry, but I'm the only person awake right now.
It's fine. It's fine. Oh, we got all kinds of animal noises in the past. Some of you I don't want to talk about. But all right, so all right, the question I always ask everybody, okay, is like, all right, how long have you been on YouTube and streaming on Twitch? What was the main reason you decided to do it? And then we'll get into your persona after that.
The easy part is I still lack a consistent schedule on Twitch. I've been doing it on and off since end of 2013, beginning of 2014. But deploying with the military made it difficult, so inconsistency was right off the bat. With starting it, I was already playing the video games, and I happened to have skills from taking a television production back in high school that I knew how to use editors and everything like that. I never said my content was going to be good, but I already knew how to use the software, so it was a little easier to just run a simultaneous output to input when I'm playing games.
Make best use of the time, sounds like.
Yeah, I'm already there playing, so just pop it up on the other screen.
That's cool. That's cool. So, all right. So, why did you choose the name Gamer Valene? And tell us about what we see and what we hear. How much of that's like the real you, in your opinion?
Well, the gamer part is me. That's the place I'm actually the most. You get the most of my personality is while I'm gaming. And Valene is the name of my main character in World of Warcraft that I've been playing since 2008.
Oh, cool.
So
yeah,
it's one of those things. It's because Valene doesn't make sense. It's an old name that's not common. It's, I believe, if I recall correctly, it's Latin. One of my characters has a Russian name and one's a Latin name. And I believe Valene is the Latin one. And I picked their names selectively based off of old traditional definitions. Based on what my character used to do. It's my Death Knight, though. It's my main. I play a heroic class that's never really been nerfed in that game, but it's fun and it's easy for me to
for
play.
non-gamers, what does nerfed mean?
They make fundamental changes to the game to weaken overpowered characters typically, or balance stats in different classes. For all the people that have played or have seen things like Final Fantasy, or even you could actually go to combat movies. You have your guy that's the big guy carrying the gun, the big guy that's carrying the M60, who's busting down doors.
Animal mother.
Yeah. The breacher, then you have your nerdy guy on the radio and all of that. What they essentially try to do is make the breacher parallel to the nerdy guy with the radio for PvP scenarios, or so nobody's getting better rolls on certain things or becoming overpowered. They're trying to balance everything. Doesn't ever work, but they try.
Right.
And they usually piss off a select group of people whenever they do it. Paladins particularly, which are like holy warriors. They're because no one ever expects the Crusades.
And I, see, here's something that I found out. It's like, and a lot of people, if you're new to this, gamer culture has a lot to do with this corner of YouTube, with like the skeptical political commentary. It's not skeptical. I mean, it's more like it became septic, really, not skeptic, but so yeah, the more politically kind of leaning stuff. I would say, and that I think that's cool, right?
Those are the ones that decide they want to grow up and actually have intelligent conversations. Then you have me.
Well, it's like it's that whole mentality, the shit talking, and ragging on people while you kick their ass. That's kind of a fun thing. I've always had a competitive spirit myself.
I think if politicians played games, they would actually be a little better at shit talking. Throw them on an Xbox 360 in 2012 and let them go face some 12-year-olds on there.
Do you think that's Trump's like secret? Is that he's into gaming and shit? I see. I'm not going to get on a thing like that because this is about you, okay? And so, all right, this is a question I love to ask everybody, okay? And nobody escapes this question. But is there a food from your childhood that you hated, couldn't stand it, right? And now you actually eat it and you like it?
No, not that I can think of. Unless you wanted to count salads, but I'm so picky. I don't eat lettuce on hot sandwiches. I don't really eat lettuce on any type of sandwich except a chicken Caesar wrap.
Okay.
Which isn't a sandwich, it's a wrap. I'm an extremely picky eater, so all the foods that I was forced to try that I didn't like, I still don't eat them.
Right.
I will. I drive my boyfriend insane because I will go through and pick out every little piece of something I don't like out of food, or I just refuse to eat it.
All right. So while we're in the neighborhood, is cereal soup?
No.
Okay.
No, because cereal is an ingredient and soup is a mixture of ingredients.
Okay. Fair enough. And pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No.
Excellent. All right. So we're moving on. I told you I got a question. Who would you say the most influential person from your childhood was? And what kind of kid were you?
I never grew up, so the most influential person is also the person that I now trust the least and taught me a lot that made me the cynic that I am today. It was my dad's sister. She was the only one that really had anything to do with tech a lot. And once my parents split up, I went with her a lot on the weekends. My mom and dad just couldn't stop fighting. They split up before I turned 3. But my mom let me go with his sister, and that's how I saw my dad, because they just couldn't see each other face to face. It was World War III broke out.
Wow.
2 extremely stubborn actual boomers who would go to war.
Yeah. And sadly that's anyway, keep going.
So my aunt worked at Hopkins as an MRI. Stanley, stop. My aunt worked at Hopkins as an MRI researcher, so she had to bring home scans and process them as they were doing different types of research on cancers and joint replacements, things like that. Well, back in 1991, 92, Windows computers were not great for processing MRI graphics. Well, they gave her a Mac. One of the first color screen models of Mac.
Right.
When I went to school, I so happened to only have the green screen Macs for the first year I was in school in kindergarten, and then the second year we had the color screen Macs that I was used to using. But I knew what all the parts were, so my aunt at the age of 3 got me really into tech. Her ex-husband owned a hardware store, so basically they just gave me a bunch of things that were already broken, take apart and figure out.
Sweet.
They were trying to drive me into the medical field to do MRI like her, and trying to navigate me as a child to go into that field. I am not a subtle enough person to do patient care. I come off as too callous. That's why robotics and computing is a lot easier, because I can walk up to somebody and bluntly say, yeah, it's broken, we need a replacement. You can't walk up and say, yeah, you need a replacement heart or you're gonna die, to somebody in patient care.
Right. So were you raised in a religious home?
No, I'm a little heathen.
Right.
My parents did go to church. My mom, she actually was raised Episcopalian, but her mom's side of the family was Catholic. So she did go to Catholic Mass growing up, and my older sister went to Mass with my great-grandmother. But that great-grandmother died when I was 6 months old, and my sister's significantly older than me. So my sister was raised a bit different. Her dad, my sister is a half-sister. Her dad actually freaked out about her going to Catholic Mass because he was raised and went to a Catholic all-boys school, and he was like the epitome of hippie during Vietnam. He wanted to dodge the draft. He did things like speed to party all night, and he smoked weed. I'm thoroughly convinced he has ADD because weed makes him hyper and start building things, and speed apparently puts him to sleep. So, but yeah, my sister, so he was very against my sister being raised that way. My mom and dad, by the time they had me, it was like if I was a midlife crisis baby. So they were just kind of like, man, whatever, she'll figure it out. So they were just both very dismissive on it. I had gone to things with friends, but I never could really latch onto it. I'm like, okay.
All right, so kind of shift gears. What, do you have a favorite holiday or time of year?
Halloween.
Halloween?
I love Halloween, and actually it's right around the time of year that I get really nostalgic for a couple things. The nerdiest one is World of Warcraft. It's my favorite time of year in World of Warcraft. But one sec, my dog is demanding to be let out of the office now. He's mad.
I want to say hey to some people while we're doing that. Duck Dog greetings. Chris Alcala. I said it. That's right. Richo 8181. What's up? Dingleberry Pie. Okay. I don't know how to respond to that. How do you respond to the word Dingleberry Pie? Greetings, I guess.
Okay, so sorry about that.
No problems. It's critters are awesome. I'm a big dog person. My wife and I, and we're thinking about getting a new one. But, all right, so moving on. If you could go back in time and talk to yourself, like to little Gamer Valene at the age of 8, so what would you tell her?
I would probably look up winning lottery numbers and tell them to myself and be like, you need to keep these numbers in a safe place. Trust me.
Right? So what was school like for you? Like elementary and middle school?
I was the nerdy kid that was picked on because I liked dinosaurs a little too much. I was like, they're awesome, and I wore like dinosaur everything. Like T-Rex was my favorite. And everybody tried to shuffle me into the girl things. There is actually a picture that I was tagged in recently on Facebook from the 4th grade, and I sent it to a couple people, and I said, wow, I've had resting bitch face since 9 years old. Not changing.
Man. Let's see. All right, so what's the craziest thing you did as a kid?
As a kid, craziest thing I did would... It was either with us running around in camouflage, hiding from our parents, and climbing a tree that, looking on later, realizing that power lines ran through it.
Yeah.
Or, I think it would have been any time I got into a fight with the boys because I fought dirty.
When you said the boys, what do you mean, like school?
My next door neighbor was 2 days younger than me. So it came down to, if I got him on the ground, I could win the fight, but I had to get him on the ground first because he had the upper body strength and I had the lower body strength, and we were actually we were still at the age before puberty, obviously, so the hormones hadn't taken over yet. So that's the only time in life that girls and boys are roughly the same size and have the natural capacity to be at the same strength without extra training.
Right. So
we were only 2 days apart. So
was he the first boy you noticed? Like when you started? How old, do you remember the first time you started noticing boys? Yeah,
but it wasn't him. We grew up together. I lived next door to him since forever.
Right.
So no, not him. We wanted to strangle each other in school. Because we were so we lived next door to each other and we're in the same class. So we saw each other all the time. We wanted to kill each other.
Man.
I do. And now I look back at it, and it was in middle school. It was in 6th grade. It was like 5th, late 5th grade, beginning of 6th grade, and now I'm looking back like, no. I mean, at least his line of work lines up with my ideas, but like his looks, when it comes down to like, you look at all the factors, it's like his looks are enough that I would hard pass.
Oh, snap. That's painful.
Because I know what I prefer.
Right.
And I realized that he wasn't, especially after being married and realizing that you just can't look past certain things. And I'm like, dude, he's almost like my height. I wear heels, I'm taller than him now. And I'm 5 foot. I am 5'4" according to Navy measurements, so I'm 5'3" 3/4.
All right, let's stick a pin in this relationship thing, and let's go to the first time you got shit-faced. Do you remember that? Or have you ever been shit-faced?
Well, it depends on your context.
Right.
If you're talking about my first time being like knowingly drunk,
yeah,
that would have been when I was in high school and I was at my sister's, and nothing really happened because my sister is 18 and a half years older than me. I just drank a lot on New Year's, but nothing else happened. I just drank and played DDR.
Right.
You're talking about the first time that I was semi-non-functional. That would have been in tech school when I was 21. And that night that was the night before I had my awesome drunk incident, and I couldn't read my phone and I got pissed off at. Climbed into my bunk and went to bed. That's when I realized what my limit was. The next night I got drunk again and vaulted over one of those like carnival railings they stick up when one guy tried to wander off from the group.
Oh.
And I was the most functional person out of the drunks.
Oh, wow. Did you ever experiment with like anything else?
No.
Yep. All right. What about the first time you shot a gun?
I was 20. I had always seen them around and I was always neutral, but I was 20 and I did a 10-22 long rifle, 45-70, a 357 Magnum, and a 22 Ruger pistol. And I still want a Ruger 10-22 long rifle because that was fun.
Yeah.
I was scope check myself with the 45-70 though.
So what was that, like a date or something, or
no? One of my friends, they saw I kind of had an interest in guns, but my dad only really took his out to the Eastern Shore, and I worked weird hours so that I was off in the middle of the week when my dad was working. Mm-hmm. So one of my friends who had guns took me instead.
Okay, I'm moving on to the next set. If I can lick my finger and make it wet enough to move this damn paper. All right, so let's shift gears again and go into entertainment in a minute, because we'll come back to something. What was the first album you remember getting?
It's Spice Girls, Spice World in 1998.
Nice. I like that.
I remember it being the end of the school year because my aunt had her RX-7 convertible, and I was in the 4th grade.
Man, those old RX-7s, but I remember that. All right, so do you play music? Have you ever? Is music a part of your life?
I am not. I screech in my car.
Right.
But I make it loud enough that I cannot hear myself.
So all right, what's the last concert you went to?
That would have been Welcome to Rockville, which is the only one, and it was 2 days, and it had Rob Zombie, Korn, and Avenged Sevenfold headlining.
You know what? I think I talked to somebody else that saw that tour, man, because that's the exact same one. I can't remember who it was. God, that was they made money on that one, that tour for sure. It's good stuff too.
Yeah.
I got turned on lately, like a couple years ago, to Avenged Sevenfold, and I didn't realize how really musical they were. They're very talented. Good stuff. Let's see. All right, so what about, do you have a guilty pleasure music-wise?
My guilty pleasure for music would probably be pop, but I have to do like the techno-y, the kind that's mixed to club beats, because it's what I do when I work out. It's what I do cardio to.
Okay.
So
Well, that kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You know that 4/4.
Because I can actually pace myself to the beat.
Exactly. All right. So, what about high school? I forgot to get into that. What was that like for you?
My best friend was a senior, and I transferred high schools in the 9th grade, so I spent 1 year at one high school, and then I went to this other one. That's where I did the ROTC. I did ROTC there, and then I did the audio video communications, or television and radio broadcast class. I didn't hang out with many people at school. I had a couple friends that I made, but other than that, I didn't want to be bothered with people there. And it was where my cynicism really came out. Because I wasn't bothered. By the time I moved to the 10th grade school, it was a really bad area. There was a fight in the family, and I ended up transferring to a bad school. It was an area filled where I went from having a school where the drug of choice for kids was cocaine to they're taking money from their parents to afford a bag of weed. And so I didn't get along with those kids very well, because they were interested in what a lot of them now fit stereotypes for that area of Baltimore, unfortunately.
Right.
And I just couldn't fall into it. I'm looking at them like, this is stupid that you're picking a fight because that girl looked at your dude. Like, y'all are going to break up in like a month anyway. It's high school. This is stupid.
People don't realize how, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just like they really just don't think about the future at all. They get stuck in the moment, I guess, and get in their lizard brain and fifis and shit.
Yeah.
And
well, my best friend has been my best friend since high school. I've known him for almost 17 years. Yes, 17 years now. And he has been with his domestic partner. Him and her have filed taxes together, so I don't know if they've done the common law thing. We don't really get into it like that. They've been together for 18 years, and that's the only person from high school I know who really just stuck with it with somebody.
So you said something about divorce and stuff for you. You want to talk about that, your relationship history?
My divorce was because I was the man of the house. I made them. That's another thing I would have told my 8-year-old self. Like, that guy you're going to marry at 22, don't do it. Just save yourself a lot of money doing that. Right. Just don't bother. Because, he had his emotional issues and relied on me heavily and just did not function as a person, much less an adult. And I got tired of paying for everything and then coming home and doing the housework.
Right.
So, and I was deploying at the time. So, yeah, I became one of those military statistics. Don't really care. I didn't care at the time either. I just walked into work and said, well, I guess I'm getting divorced. Everybody's like, why are you so calm about this?
Well, talk about your history in the military too. I didn't realize that you had served, until we talked earlier in the chat before we went live.
I bring it up a lot. But it's more in passing. I spent 8 years in the Navy. I was an aircraft mechanic on, they call it egress systems, but because I wasn't on fighters, I didn't really work on egress systems a whole lot. I worked on air conditioning, pressurization, and then fire suppression systems for heavies.
Egress what?
Egress systems.
So that would be like chaff and flares type thing, or?
No, that would be ordnance. I would have done ejection seats, canopies, get people out of the plane.
Gotcha.
The parachute riggers, get them to the ground. We got them out of the plane.
Right.
The part of my job that I kept when I went to, because I worked on P3s and P8s, which are 737s.
Aren't they sub killers? Sub hunters? Yeah, cool. Mm-hmm. I'm down with this.
Or electronic warfare if you get into the really secret squirrel stuff.
Yeah.
There's one with a giant M&M looking radar on the bottom of it.
I got into the history of the wild weasels and how they formed and all that stuff, man. The very beginning of electronic warfare. It's awesome. Fascinating shit. To me, at least. You know? Some people are like...
I was actually just watching something about the prowlers the other day and how the wild weasels came about, and that was essentially the whole goal of the prowler.
Right, exactly, for the Navy, exactly.
And I despise those planes because they're so loud. But I worked on the heavies, so we just worked on pressurization. So it's a lot of turbos and stuff like that you got to work with.
Right, because that's everything, compression with that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Getting power, you lose that and you're fucked.
Well, and with maintaining that pressure, the only way to successfully do it, because of the altitude that these planes fly at, you have to use a series of multiple turbos and pressurized bleed air off of engines to even get the positive pressure inside to just seal the plane. Because the more you build pressure, the better the plane seals by design.
Yeah.
But they use a lot of turbos, and the only way to successfully use turbos like that really is air-to-air cycle cooling, which is just air crossing instead of having liquid in the radiator, you just are crossing streams of air across to cool each other.
Right.
But yeah, that's what I did. And then we had our fire suppression systems. So the fire suppression, if the plane gets shot at, and there are multiple fuel tanks in this plane,
right,
it will either put out engine fires or those bay fires and smother them. And it's very, very quick. I'm talking your window for it to go into fail-safe is 12 milliseconds. Within 3 milliseconds, it puts out a fire.
Crazy. That's wicked fast.
And I will say, in one way, I like the P8s better than the P3s because it was more straight pneumatics instead of old electrical pneumatic systems.
Yeah.
On Cold War era planes,
yeah,
where you had brain boxes to troubleshoot. But I did miss the ability to go out with a wrench and smack a valve open when it was stuck instead of getting told, go replace that valve. That's a pain and takes 4 hours to replace because of all the panels you have to remove. Just to get to all the panels and ducting you have to remove just to get to the valve.
So you didn't work on like avionics or anything like that. You were just basically...
I worked... My work was cooling the avionics. You're not supposed to be comfortable in a plane. The primary function is to keep you alive and the avionics cool.
Right.
That's part of why planes are so cold. It's to keep the pilots awake. And to cool the avionics.
Yeah, because all the computer stuff inside the avionics bay. That's nice. And I admire you for doing that. That's cool.
My boyfriend worked with avionics. That's the funny part.
Do you employ that? What you learned out there into what you're doing now?
I actually work with vacuum now, so the complete inverse. In fact, the valves are positioned on the complete inverse even.
That's crazy.
So on planes, when you're pressurizing, you spring load a valve shut. So if it fails, it automatically is spring loaded to close, because you don't want the pressure going through. Well, with a vacuum, you want to pull everything down, so you spring load the valves open.
Well, that's great, man. I forgot to ask you. Do you have any kids?
No, well,
Okay.
cat and dog are my kids.
That's right.
I raised my nephew for a while, but no kids for me. I'm good on that.
Uzi Q's got me pegged. He says, "I loves this. I love talking about that kind of stuff." And all right, so let's get into depth of your actual relationship with guns, because what amazed me was, all right, is the provenance? Do you have that for that Mosin Nagant 1943 model that you were brandishing on telly the other night? Actually, I watched it again today. So,
You mean the manufacturing point for my Mosin?
yeah, the
Tula.
that's amazing.
It's serial number matching, bolts, receiver, stock, everything.
So, so talk about, all right. So the deal was back in 1943. There was a certain point where the Russians were still they just it's not long in 1943, but they start getting some pushback and some momentum going back in towards German territory. And a lot of times, man, 3 people were issued 1 rifle and 3 clips of rounds, one for each. And the guy that died and dropped it, one of the others was supposed to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's an amazing weapon too. There's so much history to it. You touched on it, being used by some of the female snipers who don't get enough attention.
Well,
Russia.
I'm not gonna get into the semantics of that, because
Yeah, I know
they're
this.
the 3rd and 4th wave or 5th wave or whatever wave of feminism they've decided to be on now. They ignore it, because the reality was they were more of a militia type. But it was also, they were under communist control. Everybody was conscripted.
Yes.
The female snipers, I mean, that was pretty cool that they did that when even Germany was not standing up their women when they were on the pushback onto defense.
Yeah, well, that was that was behind the whole Soviet mindset, and
Well, and the fascinating part is they specifically chose the 9130 for women, because the overall length was an aiding factor in balancing that large caliber and the natural rise when from the gas discharge and recoil.
it's a bolt action 7.62, right?
7.62 by 54R.
About
Yes.
54R.
So it falls roughly between a 308 and a 30-06.
Yeah.
The rifle is 48.5 inches tall, and that's what is the big lending factor on it, maintaining balance while shooting and making it actually easier to shoot. That long front end actually kind of weighs it down, so the women who want to naturally lean back to shoot it are forced to point the gun further down
Right.
range.
Right. And some of those snipers were like propaganda, but a lot of them weren't. They were actually the real deal. I tried. The Soviet Russia is fascinating to me. I grew up during the Cold War, and so that's and World War II is my thing. As a matter of fact, Uzi and I watched this thing last night, and I recommend it for everybody. It's called The Liberator. Netflix, I'm fixing to get rid of it. Okay, here's the deal. But it's on there, and it's really a good World War II story about a real platoon that starts out in Italy and ends up in Germany, and at the end of the war. And it's kind of like Band of Brothers and Private Ryan-ish in places, but it's done in this cool style that's like a cartoonish. It looks like a cartoon, but you can tell that they've finagled the film, and in doing so they've cheated, and it looks magnificent. I'm one of those people that a German officer says, you want me to call you a wop to one guy, and I'm like, well, they wouldn't know what that meant, but as you pointed out, he did say he went to school there in the United States, so he would know. But it's little stuff like that, and it's not woke at all. But people might think that it's trying to be, but it's not. It's about a real platoon of people, and it's good stuff. So that's my hot take for the day on visual entertainment. Back to game. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I just watched Inglourious Basterds for the first time, and as much as Quentin Tarantino's a dick, I do like that he maintains his non-PC stance on movies.
Man, oh yeah, no doubt. Chad used to say Hateful Eight. Oh my God. You'll get familiar with the N word fast, and I mean the whole thing.
He choked the actress that was choked to death by Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Basterds. That was Tarantino's hands around her neck.
Oh wow.
Actually choking her, because he said fake chokes don't. He wanted a real choke because there's only a certain look you get when you're actually being choked.
What a sick bastard, man. You know about his foot fetish and stuff too, right?
Particularly with Uma Thurman, yes.
Well, there's that scene. Rodriguez did oh shit, what's the name of that movie?
Sin City.
No, the one, the vampire one. God, I can't think of it, and I had it in my head. So anyway, I'll see it pop up in the chat in a second, because people that watch me know that I get a little water-headed sometimes. But yeah, there's a scene where the I think it was the first thing Salma Hayek was in. Dusk Till Dawn. That's it. My brain was thinking night, and it was like, no, it's not night. So yeah, I am older. Okay, I'm a pentegenarian. I'll admit that.
I was a little kid when From Dusk Till Dawn came out.
Yeah. So you probably had to wait to see it.
Not that long. I lacked supervision a lot of the time.
Oh yeah. So all right. So you talk about what other kind of weapons you possess.
I have, as much as I should be against what Springfield Armory says about firearms and them actually donating to politicians that openly try to ban weapons, I do love my Saint. That's my AR. I have an M&P 40C and a SIG 938. P938, which is my routine carry now. The M&P 40 does not work very well as a female because we tend to have more form-fitting clothes, and it is a double stack.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
Because I don't have the thin shield. I have the Gen 1 M&P 40.
Well, yeah. So you're not talking about the SIG being a double stack?
No, the SIG's a single stack. It's a small 9mm. It's a micro compact.
Yeah, it's a itty bitty gun. It's a good one for I was thinking about getting one for Uzi. So I'm on the lookout. I'm watching a bunch of videos about because I want a 1911 myself.
Well, this is it's basically a mini 1911. It just doesn't have the grip safety on it, but all the other parts are in the same position.
Nice. All right, so we'll shift gears and go to horror films. Yes or no?
To an extent.
Okay.
I'm very picky.
Do you have a favorite horror film?
For straight horror, I don't even know if one would classify it as horror, but I like Cabin in the Woods, and I think primarily because it's an original plot in a decade where
movie.
everything I think I lean more towards it because it's in a decade where everything was remakes or superhero movies.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Because I watched Blair Witch and I laugh about it. I laugh more because I know what happened with the traffic in Burkittsville because I was at least old enough to see the news at that point and see how everyone in Burkittsville, Maryland was pissed about the traffic that movie generated because it's a small town with like a 2-lane highway, a 2-lane like country highway going in and out of it. So the traffic was far in excess of what that road was built to handle, and people were pissed about that movie.
Wow.
But yeah, Cabin in the Woods it's different. I did just watch, oh god, what is that movie that came out? Because it's kind of a horror movie, but there are two that are kind of horror movies, but they're not. I'm looking it up.
Okay.
One is Tucker and Dale versus Evil, where it's basically just give the opposition
That's
equal
great.
time.
I love that, man. I love that film. That is really funny. And Cabin in the Woods is a brilliant movie, y'all. It's Joss Whedon, and God bless his heart, as we say in Alabama. He ain't right in the head, but he makes pretty good shit, when it comes to films and television series. And all right, so what about sci-fi film?
Oh, sorry. The other, it's horror, but it has a comedic spin. Is the Bill Murray movie that came out last year, and it's called The Dead Don't Die.
I haven't seen that yet. You recommend it?
Yes, because they do a fourth wall break within the first 3 minutes of the movie, and it's so we've seen Adam Driver be emo Anakin,
right?
Emo Kylo
Ren,
and make Anakin look like stellar acting when he's throwing a temper tantrum with a lightsaber.
That was so bad.
He's really funny, and he shows better acting in a B movie with Bill Murray because he's just there and he's aware of what he's doing. It's not a Disney taking over Star Wars and corporatizing it and making it a piece of its time, whereas Star Wars the original 3 can actually go through multiple generations of time and be relevant and not considered dated material.
Right. Or be woke scrubbed, as I like to call it. Man.
I got a big forehead, but Daisy Ridley, damn.
Well, I was like, why would they anyway. Yeah, I feel you. She's cute in a way, but nah.
It was the hairdo, because her face looks nothing like that when she actually had, I get part of her cheekbones is makeup. It's the illusion of contouring, but they pulled her hair back so tight and it stretches the features. It's, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. What do you think was the greatest TV series to date?
I would have said Game of Thrones, and then I saw the last season while it was live. I
know. Jesus.
I also would have said Dexter, but then we got past season 4.
Oh, you know that he's coming back.
I know, and I'm really hoping that please don't let it be the people who did the last season.
Well, yeah, I think the idea is like this mea culpa thing. We're sorry we pissed you off so much.
For TV shows, I have lost almost complete confidence in live action. I used to love Colbert Report. Because, yeah, okay, he was making fun of Fox News. I hated Bill O'Reilly. He was a dick. And he thought he was, like, better than everybody. And it's like, no, you're just an angry old man who gets paid a lot of money to shout on TV. And I loved because they were making fun of it, but it wasn't so blatant that they were just at the point of being hostile.
Right.
It was satire, as it should be. At this point, I'm more than happy to watch Archer and South Park and Rick and Morty, because at least South Park, yeah, they do all the PC things in it because they're making fun of it, and they start off the episode with PC Principle 5 years ago, saying, oh, looks like everything's getting PC again. Last time it was 6 years. We've got 5.9 to go.
All right, all right, so since we're in the neighborhood, what do you tell me about your opinion of anime, and do you have a favorite anime character, etc.?
See, had you asked me about guilty pleasures, Sailor Moon would be my one, because I know it's bad.
Yeah,
but
man.
It's something I watched as a kid,
Right.
and I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with it. I of course respect the pinnacles like Evangelion. I cannot stand Dragon Ball Z because I don't like watching people scream for 3 episodes. It just reminds me of Brick from Anchorman going, I don't know why we're yelling.
That's probably the most controversial thing you've ever said on the internet right there.
I get there's a plot. There's a plot. They just are very slow to progress through it. Evangelion, though, I kind of had a wake up, though, like, especially recently with the amount of exposure of, like, child trafficking, and I'm like, there are parts of the show that are really not okay.
Yeah.
But Hellsing is a not so common watched show, and I was actually very surprised, and I have to sit down and watch it. Mm-hmm. Berserk is on HBO Max, which is a fucked up show.
All right, so there was 3 movies that came out, 90-minute specials, whatever, about the prequel to Berserk, right? Mm-hmm. Is that what that is, or is this the series?
No, this is the actual series.
Cool.
Berserk.
Dude, I gotta see that.
Yeah, they have it on HBO Max. HBO got all the shows, like all of them.
I love guts.
They signed a $500 million deal for South Park airing rights. They're stealing everything from Disney right now because Disney owns Hulu.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
That's why you get the Disney Plus, Hulu, and an ESPN package. They own all of it.
I don't want to.
And Viacom doesn't want to play by their rules, which is why you do not have things like Comedy Central on there.
Right.
Comedy Central, Nickelodeon, MTV, VH1, CMT, BET. Those broadcast channels are not on there because Viacom said, no, we're not going to play by your rules. So, the only thing they have are local CBS affiliates, and that's it. So you get, like, the basic, like, I guess,
right.
Well, it's not on the air anymore, but Big Bang Theory and whatever else they're airing now.
Yeah.
Star Trek SJW.
No doubt. I can't pay for that CBS channel thing. All right, so go ahead.
The one last one I was going to say for anime is it's actually not an anime, but it's a foreign cartoon. And it's Reboot. It's a Canadian cartoon. And that's a bad show, but it was aired on Toonami back when Toonami used to be from 3 to 5 on Cartoon Network.
Yeah. Those were the days, All right, so what about, all right, talk about games for a minute. What's your favorite game? What's the greatest game?
I have 7 collector's editions for World of Warcraft sitting on a shelf right behind me right now.
Right.
But, as emo as it sounds, I enjoy the replay of Final Fantasy VIII because it's 100 hours of just mindless single-player game that I can go back into and play different ways for different answers. I have a really hard time deciding on favorites. Final Fantasy X is the only game that's ever made me have an emotional reaction besides laughter.
Right.
Because I spent 100 hours playing, and then you find out that character's not even real. I'm like, are you serious right now? We go through all of that. We see this person completely go from arrogant, dickhead sports geek to emo to selfless, and nope, he just gone. Bye-bye.
That's crazy.
Because anything else, it was just, I played Dino Crisis. They're all mindless fun for me. Kingdom Hearts, I mean, I waited 15 years for Kingdom Hearts, and I still haven't finished the third one, the third full installment. But yeah, I would have to say it's probably World of Warcraft. It's the game I have the easiest time going back to at any point.
Do you know Stone Monkey? Gulf City Stone Monkey? He is a huge WOW fan. And I think Gaming and Yelling, if he's in the chat, say hey, if you are, dude. He's big into World of Warcraft too, I believe.
Merle Davis is too, and he's here.
Oh, hey Merle.
Merle's my friend.
That's right. Welcome.
Oh, wow.
All right, so this is kind of all right. We're kind of getting towards the time where we ask for questions. So start writing your questions down, people, for Miss Gamer Valene. All right, what else? Scars, tattoos, piercings.
I have one tattoo between my shoulder blades that I have not decided how to complete the full thing. Piercings, I had my belly button pierced when I was 18. I have my cartilage piercing in, and then I won't pierce my face.
All right. Okay, cool.
Oh, scar. I do have a couple scars actually. Sorry. I have a scar behind my ear from where a brown recluse bit me, and they cut my head open to drain it. And when it was healing, it was heart shaped. It was bad. It was a literal hole in my head.
Man.
I felt them cut it open too.
Oh.
I have a scar on my knee from where I landed on reef in Japan. And then I have a scar above my eye from where, when I was learning how to walk, I hit my head, and then they had to go in and remove. It is classified as a cyst, but not the kind we see on like Dr. Pimple Popper, where it was just tissue growth, but non-cancer. Like it was kind of calcified, not where the tail was going along my optic nerve, and it looks more like a birthmark than a scar. But that's the major scars I have. The rest are like stupid ones that'll be gone in like a year from just random things that I couldn't even tell you where they came from. Those are the ones I know where they came from.
Right. So, in 40 years, what do you think people will be nostalgic for?
Being able to think for themselves and not being expected to join the hive mind collective thought police, where you're being policed for your thoughts.
Right. Yeah.
Not living on a social currency.
Well, you know, and a lot of people echo that kind of sentiment that, you know, people will be nostalgic for freedom. That's so sad, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And I read this book and I recommended it to Polly and the guys, and I recommended it to monk and all that it's called the Forever War. It was written during Vietnam, and it's oddly predictive, or it was oddly predictive for what's going on now.
Right.
Because the guy's traveling through portals, and each time he goes through a portal, time is factored to 7. So by the time he gets back to his planet, it's 70 years have passed. And he comes back to a world where they encourage people to be gay to control population because there was a global famine. And people progressively start thinking alike, and then they remove all races. Everybody just looks alike, they think alike, and then anybody who has a difference in thought, who is not breeding through test tubes and hasn't joined the mixture of everything and become part of the collective, they're sent off to this other planet called Middle Finger. If you're part of the collective, you can live on Earth.
That's, that kind of reminds me of a book called Lathe of Heaven by Ursula K. Le Guin. That's anyway. This is cool. What's the most useless talent you have?
It's the most useful and also the most useless. I can distinctly remember maintenance and technical things from planes I haven't worked on in 3 years.
Oh, wow.
I'll never work on them again, though. So I have no reason to remember details specifically about specific aircraft. Like, the plane's number was 434, and I distinctly remember how many times I pulled the AC system on that plane. It's stupid things like that, but I can't. It takes me forever to learn somebody's name. Like, my memory can't. It only works one way, and it's like, oh, hey, I remember seeing this somewhere, and I'll look it up and be like, see, I told you I saw this somewhere. Yeah, but then it's like, I'll see somebody that I've seen weekly at work, and I'm like, hey, guy.
You figure you start learning ways to get around it, right? I totally feel that, though. I'm totally identical. If you could know the absolute and total truth to one question, what question would you ask?
This is the question out of your interviews that I've watched that I've tossed around in my head a lot. Because there are a lot of things that, while I want to know the answer, I don't either, because I don't want to be the one person on the planet that knows that answer. Because they're all, like, inevitable questions.
Right.
I think the easiest one would be, what did my great-grandfather do to end up in Alcatraz?
Oh, wow.
I can't find any records on it, so I gotta go to I actually have to write the Federal Archives.
Yeah. Wow.
I won't go further into what he did. I just know that he ended up there, and there's record of him being somewhere else, but I'm like, but where's his court case? All I can find is this one record of him being like the date he arrived there from this other prison and the date he left, and his charge, but he was there temporarily, and most people in Alcatraz weren't there as short of a time as he was. And I'm like, well, that seems like a bit excessive to send somebody to Alcatraz over that. But yeah, like, there are things about my family tree that I have questions on, and that's like the easiest one to come to my mind because I've been searching for it for months now.
Right.
Because my dad told me about getting pulled up in Norfolk, and they had to break it to him at that point that his, at the time still alive, grandfather was involved in crime. And they wanted to know why he wanted on the base.
Oh, wow.
He was there to fix ships.
That's
My dad
crazy.
was a shipbreaker.
That's cool. You know, I respect those jobs, man. They're really difficult to do, and somebody's got to do them, right? It's honest work, I think. It's good stuff. What would you say is your spirit animal?
Honey badger.
You're the second person that said that.
Well, I go off the idea of honey badger doesn't care. And there are a lot of things that I'm just like, okay, and there are other things that I get a little bit freaked out and I overreact to. Because I still wake up a female every day, so I mean, yeah, a reaction's gonna happen. But for most of the things, I just like the whole idea of like, oh, you gotta be an adult and you gotta have like, you know, wear the suit and tie and go to work 9 to 5. I'm like, you know, I go to work to buy computer parts and video games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm really good otherwise. That's why, and I want to have George Bush and I share a birthday, so I want to go have ice cream cake because he's also like he also is a honey badger and played with a poncho at Trump's inauguration and smiled at the camera when they caught him. He just doesn't care. He just wants to paint, and I'm like,
yeah.
yep.
Exactly.
I want to be like you, laugh about playing with a plastic poncho.
He's not a bad painter either, man. You know, he's really talented. All right, so let's see. I had something picked out specifically for you, just because I want to hear. If you could replace all the grass in the world with something else, what would it be?
AstroTurf. I mean, I miss the green. I live in Arizona and everything's brown, but
dude,
I am
that's
allergic.
right.
I'm highly allergic to grass, so actually, yes, I'm good with that.
Hey,
Yes, let's start with AstroTurf.
Are you near? Do you know about Camelback Mountain?
Mm-hmm.
Is that Tucson or is that Phoenix?
That's Phoenix.
Okay, my uncle lived there for a long time. Yeah,
All the rich people resorts are on it now.
Yeah. Man, there was nothing on it when I visited. This is a long time ago. It was like it looked like a camel laying down, taking like sleeping. Beautiful. In a cool.
Where I live now, 25 years ago, was pretty much the edge of town. Like about a mile or two further south was pretty much just farms. Not so much now.
Right. No, exactly. Have you ever seen Razorfest out and about?
No, I don't generally venture. So I live in one of these cities that surround Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't generally go to the downtown because unlike the East Coast counterparts, West Coast cities, I found the downtowns are actually the really bad area that you don't go to.
Right.
Like LA, you've got Beverly Hills, then Rodeo Drive that people go to. Well, we have Scottsdale that you go to.
Yes.
And Paradise Valley. Downtown Phoenix is kind of the same way. The only thing you really go down there for is basketball and baseball games, or if you have to go on jury duty, or you committed a crime. And you gotta go to court. There's not much down there. Everything's in the surrounding cities: Tempe, Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, Glendale's where the Cardinals play.
Yeah, I think my uncle lived in the second one you said, Scottsdale. I think that's where they're from. All right. So now we're at the point in the show where I ask what's called the Lipton pivot questions in honor of James Lipton, one of the greatest interviewers that ever lived, and entertained me for hours on end during my whole life. And in his honor, I use these 10 questions on everyone. And the idea is kind of say the first thing that pops in your head. kind of not a rapid fire, but a quick fire kind of thing.
Okay.
What is your favorite word?
It's a toss-up between exponentially and discrepancy.
Nice.
Because I write it it's my choice when writing descriptors.
What's your least favorite word?
Totally.
Like totally, man. What turns you on, creative, spiritually, or emotionally?
ADHD, so it's whatever. Whatever.
What turns you off?
Sleep, being able to sleep. Or needing sleep, sorry.
Right.
Being unable to sleep and needing sleep.
What's your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
What sound or noise do you love?
I would have to say the old school Chevy muscle cars from the 1970s, late 60s, early 70s.
That throaty rumble.
That or a turbo spinning up in a car.
Yeah.
As you're accelerating.
What sound or noise do you hate?
The drill at the dentist, it makes me actually want to grind my teeth because of the high-pitched frequency.
Yeah. It hurts me too. All right, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
A lawyer. I'd like to be a lawyer so I can actually get paid to argue with people. I'd be a divorce attorney.
Ooh. That's where the moolah be. What profession would you not like to do?
Pretty much anything in the medical field or a crime scene investigator.
Indeed. If heaven exists, this is the last question of this part. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
No, this wasn't a screw up.
Nice. All right, so chat, this is your turn. Start throwing some questions in the chat there. And while we're waiting for y'all to kick in, because there's like a 30-second delay, I can't fix it, man. When YouTube did something, it used to be like 9 seconds, even 8 or 7 sometimes, but now it's just ridiculous. So we're kind of back at YouTube questions for YouTube. Who would you say is a criminally undersubscribed YouTuber that you recommend people subscribe to?
I would say P-Dog is. P-Dog or Polly when he does like the comic book curation.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just strictly like, it's not the stereotype from like Family Guy or something you expect where they're like, hey guys, so these comic books are awesome. They're talking about like, no, this is not going to work for comics and this comic sucks because of this. And they talk about other things like comic adaptations and then other entertainment that would typically tie into the comic book realm.
Right. Did you read comics? Are you a comics person?
Yes.
Cool. All right. What about a YouTuber that you think's way overhyped?
PewDiePie or the Paul brothers.
I must concur. And what will finally break the internet, do you think?
If Facebook's granted if Facebook is Facebook, Twitter, and Google are the consultants on looking at the digital, the internet, the laws of the internet, that 230 law that they're doing, because Facebook is openly looking to consult. They will manage. If they consult, they're going to convince lawmakers who have proven they don't know how to use the internet to write a law that allows them to censor people. And face no ramification because they could be like, I'm just doing what the law says I can do. Which, I mean, it's a company, and they are running their company the way they want. If you don't like it, do your business elsewhere. But they will set the precedent for other areas to the point that people do get entire groups of people get run off the internet. So,
Man, it's not a good thing. That's for sure. If you were made out of barbecue spare ribs, would you eat yourself? Hell, I'd eat myself and wash it down with a cold Budweiser. That's Chris Laka asks you that. If you were made out of barbecue spare ribs, would you eat yourself?
if I was in the mood for it, because I'm kind of weird about barbecue after living in the South, because that was like that was like one of the restaurants that you could actually go to that were open late.
Mm.
Being from the mid-Atlantic and north of the Potomac, I'm used to being able to go to get any type of food 24/7, and then I've moved where things do close earlier when you get outside the Northeast and
Right.
Las Vegas.
So Vegas is a lot like the Southeast. I mean the Northeast.
Well, I mean, it's the concept of at casinos you can get anything.
Yeah.
Atlantic City stopped doing that when their population for casinos dropped. They don't even really hold concerts there a whole lot. You don't have headliners every week.
Yeah.
Big headliners every week in Atlantic City anymore.
Did you ever go to Manhattan?
Yes, I did. I actually saw the Rockefeller tree and the
Sweet.
Rockettes, and I hate musicals. It was painful.
Well, I went there in the winter time too, man, and it was awesome. I don't know. I loved that vibe. That 24 hours. It was like the city had a life to it. It was like
Yeah.
it had a pulse. And
I'm trying to find somebody willing to open a Greek diner here and where I live in Arizona, because they will make their money off of the employers that are around here. There's quite a few 24-hour employers here.
wow. We have where I live was a huge influx of Greeks because of the steel industry during the 30s. And so we've got two of the best restaurants in town are Greek, man. Great food. Good shit. I love it too. What is the purpose of your quest? I mean, what's your favorite color, and what is the airspeed of an unladen swallow? Go, man. He's a Python fan, obviously.
Purpose of my quest. Well, given the fact that I usually enter a room and say, yes, my children, as if they've summoned Satan herself. Hello there.
What about your favorite color?
It's actually hot pink, but I don't use it on anything. I just kind of like the way it looks with black, which is the color I wear the most.
Yeah, don't tell me you have a pink gun, please.
No, I don't believe in pink guns. That's stupid. You're accessorizing a weapon. A weapon is not an accessory.
I don't judge, but I mean, I'm just saying aesthetically, it just doesn't look good at all. It looks, I don't know, man. Let's see. We don't know the airspeed of an unladen swallow.
How fast?
Go,
What did you launch it with?
Exactly. See, good questions. One thing I'm learning about Gamer Valene, she's very bright, very intelligent. You're not going to get much past this one, y'all. Tiberius Kirk, I thought I saw you talking about weed. Merle Davis, I thought I saw Cynical Lindsay in here. Have you ever met her?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
good.
not in person. Not in person. We're usually looping in P-Dog's chat, and then like elsewhere, whether it's AAA or Fright Power Hour, wherever I circled that day.
She's a very cool person. I recommend you guys hanging out in a voice chat like this one and get to know each other. I think you guys
Me, her, and Blondie living in fairly close proximity to each other in Arizona talking about the election, I came to the conclusion that all three of us together might actually be a dangerous thing where we actually just escalate.
You kick the boogaloo off, man.
When we're sitting there, when we're sitting there tweeting to the county board of supervisors, going, "So explain yourself," and like backing each other up, and then just throwing another tag on another one.
Man,
It's maybe kind of dangerous.
just a wee bit. So we're kind of at the end now where we start talking about, we talk about your content. Do you have anything new coming up? Any new ideas you're working on? And then we'll show your channel and, tell everybody. I have links in the description and I hope they're the correct ones, but I've got, Twitter, Gamer Valene, Twitch.dk Valene, and then the YouTube channel is the user Gamer Valene. So all those should pop you where you need to go, folks. And if you're not subscribed to her, do that. You need some subscribers. You need some actual subscribers on Twitch, don't you? That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I was probably the worst person ever that they could be like, "Oh, hey, welcome to being an affiliate," because I was like, "Okay, that's cool." And like a week later, I stopped streaming for a year. I was like, "All right, I'm bored now."
Well,
I made it and was just like, "Okay, that's cool."
It's, I won't say anything sexist, like it's a woman's prerogative.
Well, that's not. And the thing was, Polly, it was funny because the one night, Polly's like, "Hey, I got a bone to pick with you." He's like, "You said this was a no cleavage stream." And I was like, "Well, it was." And he goes, "Yeah, I know." And I was like, "I know. I was honest. The title was literally what was going on. I wore a t-shirt that came up to my neck." And he was just like, "Ah," and I'm like, I have a hatred for the Twitch hoes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, give me money. I have nothing intelligent to say, and I make the game super small so you can't tell that I'm not the one playing.
Yeah, that's what I always figured, that the thoughts, man, are just sitting there either playing a recording of a game they've played, or they're just, or somebody, they've grabbed somebody else's shit and they're just putting it up there. I find it hard to believe that they all talk like that while they're playing a game, because it's hard to do, man. I mean, it's like you got to focus and have fun in your games sometimes, and it just don't fit. The things don't fit, and I don't like it.
When you multiple rounds and you never die in multiple rounds, and you're like having full conversations and getting mad at people, that's when I know it's fake. Yeah. Whereas I will die repeatedly because I'm a gamer. I never said I was a good gamer, so I'm not false advertising. I'm just a gamer.
Right. That's fair. What was that girl, Invader V? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That was trying to shame people. Do you think that's part of her Dom thing? Or do you think that she's just really a horrible person?
I think she was the girl who probably went to a smaller school and was the pretty girl in school. So she was used to getting her way and being catered to. Or she had wealthy parents who catered to her. And so because she's not ugly. That's the thing. She's not ugly. She probably did go to a smaller school, though, where she's used to being one of very few females anyway. So there wasn't a lot of selection. So she was used to having more guys than normal fawn over her. And getting subscription traffic because the economy improved. And she took advantage of it. So when the economy tanked, and admitted to cyber stalking people and going, oh, well, I know he's an engineer because I looked him up. Based off of his PayPal info. She showed her crazy card too.
Slightly, right?
And yeah. Oh, I look him up. I'm like, why? Why do you care who's paying? Like, does it matter? Does that actually matter?
Brad,
I mean, I don't know. I don't do that. I have a job. I do YouTube and Twitch as a hobby, and I can't wrap my brain around them doing it. Like, I get some people do it because it works for them. Like, for me, it doesn't, because I have to be busy way too often.
right.
But like, she takes it to a whole different level. There's a difference in going, hey, your money's bringing me content, or bringing more content because I can get better production equipment and all that stuff.
That's fair. I agree.
To, you need to get a job to pay me. No, get off your ass and do it. Go get a job.
That's why I was wondering if she was
function in society
one of
enough
those
to work.
One of those femdoms, right? Financial dominatrix, where that she kink shames, or not kink, she shames the person into giving her money because that's their humiliation. That's what somebody was trying to justify, and I'm going, I don't know, dude. She don't look that smart to me. But you know,
she's not so stupid she can't function in society. Go fold some clothes and get the discount on the shit you're already buying. Cause like, I mean, I don't think you're going very far with that attitude, but you could be a snob at a higher end retail store.
Well, and I think she's reflective of you know, the Zoomers too. I think a lot of them have these attitudes that are not realistic. You know, when it comes to what the world owes them. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Spittle Buggies.
Hey, Spittle Buggy, what up? You late? That's okay. You can rewind and watch it from the beginning. I got it set up to do that. Well, you can start right now. Just start at the beginning. Just, and it will catch up to us now. Right?
And that's the thing. Those girls, Invader V, and then the one goes $5 a month. I get they're making good money, but I'm 32. Your looks aren't gonna last forever.
Nope, and gravity is a thing.
Like, I'm gonna sound arrogant for a minute. My aunt and my mother do not look like they're in their 60s. My mother's gonna be 71 this year. My mom does not look like she's going to be 71 in a couple months. And I look exactly like my dad's sister, the one that was the MRI radiologist. People were confusing her for my mom in her 40s, and thought she was in her 40s, and she was almost 60. Like, yeah, I'll be I keep looking like her. I will be fortunate enough to be considered several years younger. But that's not a guarantee. My genetics might not always reflect that. I might age faster than she does. She just aged very well for being a smoker and habitual coffee drinker who gets minimal sleep and barely eats. Working in the medical field, it didn't age her.
That's crazy. Usually smoking will do that, you know, will age a person. All right, so before we
smoking and I aged.
So all right, so before we part, are you going to be doing any more like dual streams with Blondie? Or are you going to just be primarily gaming?
Yes, and it's my fault we haven't done it because I get tied up and lose track of time. And we try not to stream at the same time as the guys because I'm limited on what days I can join her.
Right.
So we're trying not to stream at the same time as the guys, and I either oversleep or I have stuff scheduled because I'm limited to certain days that I can schedule things, and that's mostly my doing why I don't join her. Actually, we were planning on doing more with guns, except guy who co-authored the gun ban in '94 just ran in an election and looks like he won it. Because I don't think Trump's gonna get a different outcome than Al Gore. I honestly don't.
If you're listening to a recording, this is Sunday, the 15th of November, 2020. So, just for historical purposes. But I don't know, man. It ain't over till the fat lady sings, man, and she is not even on deck. So we got till December 15th. And maybe up to the 20th. Who knows, man? Maybe we'll have President Nancy Pelosi. That's terrifying, isn't it, to think about? Oh my God.
What did I describe about Becca? I'm so confused right now.
What about Becca?
Becca goes, Olet Gamer just described me. Nothing wrong with doing all that. I'm like, I don't know which part are we talking about.
Everything you just said.
But yeah, we were gonna go to the range. Ammo is 50 cents a bullet for 9mm, and 223. Well, so the big thing about Arizona is because we have wildfires here. Even the outdoor ranges, where in Florida I could get away with it, here in Arizona, no steel core.
Oh.
Because of the spark risk.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're pumping lead with a copper jacket?
Yeah, I have to find that non-steel core ammo, and it's almost impossible to find right now, so we can't even do the shooting videos, because her and I can't get our hands on ammo except for steel core.
It's crazy, man. It's like all the ammo has disappeared. It's crazy.
I cleaned her gun for it to get put back away. I feel so bad now.
So, all right. So before we part, show your channel. Tell everybody where to find you in your own words. Sell yourself to these people.
Well, I am a night shifter, as I have been for the past 12 years. And I like to stay up late on Tuesdays so I can actually function at work the next day. So on Tuesday nights, if you have insomnia, come join me on YouTube or Twitch. I tweet them out on Twitter and I shill them throughout the various Discords, or you'll see me active on YouTube typically when I'm playing World of Warcraft, where I'm either playing right now Fallout New Vegas or I am playing World of Warcraft. With the release coming out, I'm going to be a lot more active on it come Monday the 23rd, because the new expansion releases at noon on World of Warcraft. So I've already told my boyfriend I don't exist that weekend. I'm going to come out and shower and eat food to stay alive, and that's it. That's my presence in the house. So I'll be a lot more active then, but Tuesday nights, typically starting at 11 p.m. Pacific, that would make it 2 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
I start playing World of Warcraft for 6 hours to stay awake.
Yeah.
And then any other streams, they're surprise. That's the one that I know I can commit to because I have to stay awake. I tried to do a Good Morning Sunday morning stream, and that'll come back once election news is over, because every other piece of news that is not politics is completely buried, and I'm only pulling news articles that are 4 weeks old right now. So I will announce when that comes back, because that'll be Sunday mornings that I do any news that's not politics. So yeah, Tuesday nights on either YouTube or Twitch. And then, because I can't stream on both at the same time.
That's right.
Because of the affiliate program.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
In case somebody ever went, hey, we want to sponsor you.
Yeah.
I'm shooting really high here, but in case anybody ever wanted to sponsor me, I have to stick to one. Right now, I'm typically doing YouTube because World of Warcraft is buried on there, and I have an easier time with the chat. However, there are times where YouTube's unreliable, so I typically go over there for Twitch, where I'm having issues with the upload, consistency, and frame rate loss.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, because a lot of tech companies like to do their updates in the middle of the night based on their local time. So YouTube, I typically have frame rate loss around 2 a.m. Pacific time is usually where I run into my errors. And
Right.
and Tuesday is probably their lowest traffic day, so I'm most likely to be impacted that day. So,
So you know what to do. Catch her on Tuesday nights because she's jamming. All right, late night, you can't go to sleep. Too much coffee in the evening.
6 hours of
6 hours of
gaming.
awesomeness. WOW. That's what I'm down with. It's been a pleasure having you as a guest. I've really enjoyed this, Gamer Valene, and I hope don't be a stranger. Usually, all right. So after you do this in my server, you're known as an ice creamer because you did the ice cream interview. And you also can, if you ever get bored on a Friday night, we do this thing from, I guess it will be 9 till 11 your time, called the Creem stream. And it's always fun. It's getting better and better too. We're having more fun with it. And then I do accelerated deconstruction on Saturdays. Tomorrow, Monday, I'll be with Becca, and we'll be finishing up the history of communism from the NTD channel. And then next week, in the chair, will be Gamer Valene's friend, buddy, and the one and only Bluntly Blondie. Correct? That's the correct name? Have I said everybody's name right? Am I good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
All right, good deal. It's been a great. I'm on a good run with this show. Week after Bluntly Blondie, it's going to be the one and only Gemini. That's right, that Gemini, and then Uzi Q, my wife, will be in the chair the first Sunday in December. So this has been an awesome experience, but it's time to split. So I'm saying goodbye, Miss Gamer.
Bye, everybody. I stop by. Just if you stop by on Tuesday, just give me a hi or something.
That's right. Do it. Say you saw her here, okay? If you're one of my regulars, please do it.